Welcome to the show. I'm Jessica Shaw.
I'm Touré.
And this is Bingeworthy.
We tell you what to binge.
And what to delete.
This week, Season 5 of House of Cards.
The new series I'm dying up here.
And Season 5 of Orange is the New Black.
Cheers to unscary prison guards.
Is that a thing? And thanks to our host, Vintage New York Lifestyle Bar in New York City. All right, Jess, let's talk TV. The incredibly addictive political drama House of Cards is back for a 5th season, streaming right now on Netflix. This year, Frank Underwood is an embattled president fighting off impeachment.
And the President of the United States! Parliamentary inquiry! Mr. President, this is beyond the norm.
I don't care. I don't care. And I also do not care about your investigative committee. No, that is not what I care about today.
Obviously, people will make the link with Trump and the craziness that happens in this season. They will link with Trump. But I saw echoes of Trump, Clinton, Bush, Obama. It's
Nixon.
all over the map. Yeah, definitely Nixon. So don't just bog down on where is it like Trump. Clearly, a show like House of Cards has to be more crazy, right, to make up to catch up to the intensity of the political situation right now.
Intensity.
Right? I think this is an extraordinary season. I found it compelling and riveting. We get more of the weird sex we're used to from the show. We get more of the violence, more of the political intrigue, and just the Underwoods are Machiavellian, compelling, they're manipulators. I just love watching them do their thing.
This season is incredible, and I think especially following last season, I agree with you that you can't watch the show and be like, oh, how can I put this together? How is this like Trump?
Right.
How is this like, the current White House and everything? That said, I do feel like it has injected some more urgency to the show this year. It does feel a little bit more, they feel a little bit reinvigorated. I mean, Kevin Spacey feels like when he is delivering, like, let me tell you what's going on here, in one of those early episodes, you get the sense that he is all in again. And I think after maybe a lackluster last season, it does feel like they found something more in season 5.
I mean, I guess I would agree that the 4th season was a little below the high bar that they have set for themselves. But this is one of the greatest shows on television. And just
for sure,
watching all of this, watching all of the machinations and all of the way that the characters are trying to screw each other is always so much interesting and so much fun. They love to create this big tableau of characters, and you really feel like you are inside Washington and seeing how things are happening and how the sausage gets made. And Frank does not care about any actual policy or any actual political direction. No. He is about power, pure and simple.
Imagine.
And he's open about that. This is the point, just to be in power.
Yeah, and how great is Robin Wright?
She's fantastic.
How amazing. In some ways, it's like, yes, this is the story of Frank Underwood and everything, but she is like, to me, she reminds me of someone who she is in it for the long game.
Sure.
She just gives out little bits, little by little, and then before you know it, she has destroyed you, in some ways, literally, this season.
Sure, that could happen.
She just blows me away with her performance.
The first time in the first season when Frank first spoke to the camera, and I was like, whoa, that's weird.
Right.
And over time, I got used to it. I thought they might go away from it the way Sex and the City went away from it, but it has become quite an important staple of the aesthetic of the show. And this season, they do it a little bit differently, and I find it really, really interesting. But it's always been Frank talks to the camera because he is the main character. And there was a moment in season 4 when Claire seemed to notice that there was an audience, but didn't say anything. And it was like, well, what? That's weird, but okay. So this season, she's talking to the camera.
But don't you feel like in some ways this season, it's very much about the two of them blurred lines between the two of them.
Which is why it makes sense that she starts talking to the camera, because they are more than ever one political entity. They've always been that sort of couple moving together, but here they've really come together to coalesce and to try to corral all the power they could possibly get.
But I think what's interesting about this show is that sometimes I think we watch TV now differently because of what's going on in our government, because of the Trump White House. I watch Handmaid's Tale differently.
Sure.
I'm guessing that you do
Definitely.
too. And it's one of those things where you turn off certain shows and then you feel like it's too close to my real life. Like I need a palate cleanser. I need to watch like whatever it is, Colbert or some other show that's just going to be sorbet for the brain on some level. I didn't feel that with House of Cards, thankfully.
Right.
Even though it is close and it is set in DC and set in that whole world, it still was entertaining enough that it wasn't chilling. It didn't haunt me to my bones in the way that other shows do.
Binge-worthy, the notion of being binge-worthy, this show is at the core of that because you want to watch it in like 1 or 2 sittings. You want to keep going episode after episode, see how this, for me, this is the show that initiated me to the concept of binging. Right? And I remember staying up till 2 a.m. with watching that first season with my wife. It's amazing that this is the 5th season. This is really the beginning of Netflix being at the top of the game.
Yeah.
And this show is still crushing it.
It's great, and best of all, when a season ends and you're already craving the next season, and the way that they leave you, that they are perfectly setting up a season 6. When you like that feeling of like, oh, I can't wait, like what, 360 days until the next season comes out.
No, I'm getting
that's the dream.
I'm getting chills, and I won't ruin it, but I'm getting chills thinking of the last line of this season, right? And what it says about politics, what it says about these characters, what it says about what season 6 will be. You know, I am so excited for season 6 because it will be fundamentally different than what we've seen before.
I'm binging season 6.
I'm binging season 6. It's not even out. No, I binged this season, and after I finish Orange is the New Black, I will go back and binge it again. I mean, this is one of the hallmarks. We talk about the golden age of television.
Yes.
This is one of the hallmarks of that.
Yes.
Coming up next, we'll talk about the new season of Idiotsitter.
And the return of Orange is the New Black.
Welcome back, I'm Touré.
I'm Jessica Shaw.
And this is Bingeworthy.
The show that tells you what to binge.
And what to delete.
Dying Up Here is a new show loosely based on the world of the Comedy Store, the legendary LA stand-up club where many big names got their starts. It airs Sundays at 10 on Showtime.
Some nights you kill, some nights you bomb. For some reason, you keep coming back.
Welcome to the Wild Wild West. Thank you, you've been a great crowd.
Give a warm welcome to Clay Apuzzo.
He got the couch.
Every Johnny appearance another comic makes is one more that we didn't get.
They trust that when I know they're ready, that's when they're ready.
Get your ass on that stage. Figure out what you have to say. You can say it.
I really wanted to love this show. I love that world, the comedy scene in the 1970s. Melissa Leo plays the person who runs this fictionalized comedy club. She's loosely based on Mitzi Shore, who was like the legendary, she ran the Comedy Store, and she was the person. She told people like what stage you're performing on. She gave all of these now legendary stand-ups their starts. And Melissa Leo is amazing. She is just, to me, she is a bright spot in this show. I just thought some of the other storylines didn't quite hold together. It felt to me like they were throwing a lot of plots at the wall to see which characters would take. And for me, there was one character that was so obviously the star, Ari Grainer, who plays this woman, Cassie, this young comic, obviously a female comic, and just dealing with like, oh, she's always getting the smaller stage, and she's sleeping with a key person on the show at a certain point. Her story was amazing. Her acting is amazing. She's so good on the show, and yet she's kind of pushed to the side a little bit in favor of some of the other characters that I didn't care about.
There's this amazing moment where she's just working her way up, and when she gets into the meat of her story, you could hear a pin drop, and it's so exciting. The story is amazing, her development is amazing, and you're like, this fantastic moment they've created where you're watching the character blossom to their maximum ability right in front of you, and it's so beautiful. I mean, I enjoyed the show a lot because I'm seeing inside the world of comedy. And it's not supposed to be pretty. It's supposed to be depressing and gritty and nasty. And comics deep down are not happy people, right? And comedy is not a laughing matter, right? Certainly not for people who are trying to live and die off of this stuff. And, you know.
Just like the 70s was depressing.
Well, I mean, you know, it was exciting for me because I was young. But, you know, I like this world. And I like these characters. And I like this journey through this morass of how do we move up and why does he get up and why do I not, and seeing these people like flower or not, I found it really fun.
But tell me there was one other character on that show that you cared about.
I like Sebastian a lot. He's that classic, like, super funny, super smart, super depressed off stage, you know, has this sort of nasty veneer to him, but he is whip smart and he will crush it when he goes out there. I liked him.
To me, they're like trying to create this bigger world with so many characters and this very broad umbrella. And it, to me, like, they needed to focus the show. They needed a different editor. To me, it felt like when you shoot sometimes you hear about a movie that's shot in its entirety, and when the editor comes back and watches it, he or she is like, oh my God, this is a totally different movie than we thought we shot.
Right.
That's what this show felt like. They shot all this footage with all these stand-ups, and they didn't realize that the show is Cassie.
Tiffany, you got super invested in 2 characters.
2 characters.
That's a lot. That's a lot for a television show.
Yeah, but when you
How many more do you want?
But then tell
you want
the
Grey's Anatomy
story
where you're in love with all of them?
No, but
everyone
that's
can't
the
be
thing. I
Shonda
feel
Rhimes.
like, fine, but then I feel like you need to better develop those other ones or focus your story. You got to choose one or the other. You can't do both because then it just becomes a show I'm not invested in.
So you're deleting this?
I am deleting this show. I wish that they were able to focus this show because some of the performances, Melissa Leo and Ari Grainer are standout. My God, they are great on this show. But I don't think the show is serving them in the way that it should.
I would binge this show because I enjoyed being in this world. I like these characters. I want to see where they go and what comes out of them. And I know every once in a while they're going to get on stage and make me laugh. It's back. The beloved women's prison drama Orange is the New Black returns for a 5th season on Netflix on Friday, June 9th. And this season is wilder than ever.
If we want to turn this place right, we have to speak as one united group. Who's in?
We're all angry. You done a girl wrong, Mr. Caputo. And we want justice.
If you're going to do a show for 5 seasons, you're going to have to, at some point, fundamentally change the show. This is why we see some shows bring in a small child at some point to fundamentally change the family or whatever.
Cousin Oliver.
Oh, yeah, or Olivia on The Cosby Show, whatever. A prison drama is interesting because they constantly shuttle in new characters.
Right.
But I guess they felt like we need to have a larger fundamental change, because last season there was a fundamental change that they went from a federally run or state-run prison to a private prison, right? Which led to certain changes. This season, it's a riot, right? It's wild, right? The prisoners have literally taken over. They have taken guards hostage, and you would think it would be scary because this show has quite often been like gritty, and the last season ended in a very real gritty moment, their own sort of Eric Garner moment. But there's an interplay between gritty, crazy, scary, violent things happening and then a moment of comedy or levity. And these two sort of jump back and forth. And there are moments when I'm like, I wish you guys would just be serious and gritty and scare the shit out of me.
Right. Be the show that we have come to love.
Yes, and it's always been funny and frightening together, right? So it has just been riot. I mean, the prisoners are running amok inside the prison, and it's an entirely different sort of show than it has been.
I mean, I think I reject the notion that a show in season 5 has to change itself up.
Why?
Because I think that this show has been incredibly successful creatively by bringing in different characters and exploring different themes. I would argue that the season finale of season 4 was one of the most devastating episodes of television I've seen in my entire life. I mean, the loss of Poussey, played so brilliantly by Samira Wiley, who's on Handmaid's Tale, another great show now. destroyed me, and it just gutted fans of this show, and just the way that it happened. It was so brilliant, and then they pick it up this season, and they end the season with Daya pointing a gun at Agar, or having the gun, and it's picked up a split second later in season 5. And I have to say, the whole riot, it's for me, and I haven't seen the entire season, and I think season 4 was pretty slow too at the beginning. I remember thinking like, all right, let's get through some stuff, and the back half of the season is where that season really, really became brilliant. But I just feel like this riot is going on for too long. I miss what the show was great. I miss them sitting around and having lunch together and those conversations.
How often can we do that? How many times can we see these characters, great actresses, great characters, but how many times can we see the blacks sitting together, the Latinas sitting together, the whites sitting together, doing their conversation? I mean, like, I feel like I've seen those.
But that's
and
part
this
of
is
the
giving
story.
us a new dynamic.
But that's the monotony of prison. I mean, that's life
well,
at
yeah,
Litchfield.
but yes, but the art cannot itself be boring. Right?
I never found it boring.
No, I've never found it boring either, but I'm saying, like, you can portray a boring situation, but you can't do it in a boring way. And if you do too much, again, we're sitting in the lunchroom talking and eating Red's food, it's like, wow, I've seen this so many times. And this is giving us an entirely new vision of the prison. I mean, it's like Attica, okay? Like this, and this happens at prison. Now, as we said, this is a minimum security prison.
Right.
Everyone in the prison has now upped themselves to medium or maximum security, right? I mean, the things that they are doing in this riot, they would, in real life, they would all end up going to max.
I know, that's just how I felt. It didn't feel real. And something about this show always felt so real, but it was so much about these specific women. And when it is about this riot, and all of a sudden the prison guards are all equal players on this show with these characters we've come to love, it's taking me out of the show. It reminds me of Homeland, when in season 1 it went from being this incredible show with almost loftier aspirations. It was a better show. And then, by season 4, all of a sudden it's kind of just 24.
It's a powerful show. It's a fascinating show. I have my critiques of the show, the part I found problematic is the prison light notion, right? The way that it makes prison seem fun and doable and not life-threatening and frightening as hell. And like I said, like,
there was a slight summer camp vibe to Litchfield.
Yes, it was like a summer camp you never wanted to end, but you could. So we've seen prison portrayed better, but the show is so winning and so fun and so compelling that I forgive them these things. I am binging this. I am sticking with Orange is the New Black. I've loved this show since episode 1. I am not leaving now.
I'm so invested in these characters. I look forward to getting past the riot. When we can go back to actually exploring these characters who I find so endlessly fascinating and layered and nuanced, and I just want to know more about them, and I want to see their day-to-day interactions without this other circumstance. I'm binging it, warts and all.
Coming up, we'll look at the most binge-worthy performance of the entire week.
So stick around. Welcome back, I'm Jessica Shaw.
I'm Touré.
And this is Bingeworthy.
We know what to binge
and what to delete, because you've got to know. Jillian Bell's sitcom Idiotsitter is back for a second season on Comedy Central. It premieres June 10th and 17th at 8 on the network.
Bitch. Stay away from my slut.
Y'all having a whack attack.
I ask you, how on earth did this get a second season? I mean, Jillian Bell is so funny. Like, Lord knows this woman needs a better show and a funnier show. And there are moments that it's good enough. I love that we see her playing this woman child. Often that kind of man-child thing is exactly that. It is only a man is allowed to be a complete and total idiot asshole. And I love that there's no redemption for her. There's no like, oh, but you know what? I'm gonna learn that lesson. I'm gonna be a good person after all. She is all in on the horribleness of this character. And I appreciate that, and I like that, and I respect that. But aside from that, the show's just, it's just not that good. It could have been a short. It should be like little webisodes for like 6 minutes.
I'm so glad to hear that because I was afraid you would like it and we'd be fighting. And this seems like the sort of show that I would hate and that you might like.
Why?
So I'm glad that well, sometimes you like bad TV. But I'm glad that you two hate it. No, I hated this show. I find her so obnoxious and annoying and just cloying and just like, just please just be quiet and go away. Oh my God.
I'm not into silencing women, so.
No, but women who aren't funny, they must be silenced.
I think she's really funny. I like Julia
Of course you would make it about that. It's not about that, Jessica.
I think she's great. I think she's hilarious. But I think that her humor does not work in a traditional 30-minute sitcom world. Like this show can't sustain an entire season of television. It's one joke that you can't stretch out and make it work. It's really funny in a tiny, tiny dose.
I know, right? I mean, like, how many awkward college class status jokes can we make?
Right.
I mean, like, she's the teacher, you're not, but you feel super close to her, so you're so socially inept that you keep telling everybody, I'm super close to her, but I'm not a teacher. I can't. It's like the same joke over and over and over.
I feel like the premise of this show was so strong back when it started in season 1. You got this woman child who's just like a complete disaster, and the one who is allegedly a little more together and smart and well educated, and she's the one that has to essentially babysit this disaster area. And that's a really good premise that you got the sense that Comedy Central was like, we are in love with the idea of this show, so we're just gonna keep it going. And it just doesn't work, and it dilutes. I feel like when Comedy Central, you think about, they have Broad City, and I think they had Inside Amy Schumer for a while.
Yeah.
They had something going with really funny women, and this dilutes their brand.
I'm super deleting this show. I hated Idiotsitter.
I know, I'm deleting it too.
The most binge-worthy performance of the entire week goes to the new season of the creepy, brilliant sci-fi thriller series, Orphan Black.
Hello? Who's that? Whoever the man behind the curtain is, he's put Rachel in charge. It's a new day, Sarah.
Sick bastard!
Where's Helena? Just let me leave with my sister.
Get them out of my house!
Rage, Sarah, rage.
Let's go kidnap my daughter.
Tatiana Maslany is brilliant. I mean, she deserves all of our respect. She certainly deserved an Emmy after season 1, was completely overlooked for that. I think season 1 of Orphan Black was one of the great seasons of television. The show kind of fell apart at that point, but this is the final season. I am gonna watch to see it through, largely because her performance as like 8 billion clones at this point is so incredibly strong.
Oh, it's such a smart show, dark, beautiful looking, compelling. I mean, like, if you are a fan of like complex television, difficult television, this is the sort of show that you should be watching. Like, people who are fully enamored with the golden age of television, this is the sort of show that you should add to your repertoire, because this is a fantastic show. In honor of the start of summer, we're giving our picks for best show to binge during these long dog days of summer. Jessica, what do you got?
Well, you know, like the kids go to summer camp and you're like, what should I watch? What should I do? My big recommendation to people is to watch the amazing Amazon show Catastrophe. Rob Delaney and Sharon Horgan created the show together. They met on Twitter, which I always love. I love that like random backstory. They star in it also, and it's 3 seasons. It's on Amazon Prime. They're like, each season is like 6 episodes. You can essentially watch 3 seasons over the course of the weekend. If your kid's just like going to camp for like a week, you're golden. You can do the entire show.
I mean, the thing that I tell people to watch when I meet people in the real world, you gotta watch The Handmaid's Tale. It's the best show on television. But for this particular exercise, the show that I would recommend is F is for Family, right? On Netflix, Bill Burr's show, animated sitcom about a family that's sort of like just a mess in the typical way that families are in sitcoms. It is fun, it is funny, it is real, it is honest. Bill Burr is hysterical.
Yeah.
He's got a mean streak to him, which is always really funny. So, you know, if you have sent the kids off to summer camp and you're wondering what to do, This will give you an interesting vision of a family that is almost surely worse than yours.
I love it. Yeah, and like Catastrophe is a little bit of a, what happens if you sleep with that person who happens to be in town and you get pregnant and then you see what goes on from there. And also just a nod to Carrie Fisher, who is so good playing Rob's mother, this character of Mia, who's such a nightmare, and she is incredible on this show. And if you want to see some of her great work, especially at the end of her life, season 3, she's incredible.
That's it for our show. Thanks for watching.
And thanks again to the Vintage New York Lifestyle Bar in New York City. I'm Jessica Shaw.
I'm Touré, and this has been Bingeworthy.
Cheers to shows about cloning hot people.